Claire Michelson, and I'm our Youth Programs Coordinator at Empower Montana. Welcome to our 9th annual Diversity Day celebration. Thank you all so much for coming and joining us tonight. So tonight is hosted by Empower Montana, and we are a leadership development organization that focuses on ending mistreatment of all people through leadership development, building allies across group lines, and strengthening our Montana communities. So I'll introduce myself and let my lovely co-host of the night introduce herself. So I grew up here in Missoula, and again, I'm Claire. And I got connected with Empower Montana as a 7th grader, actually, in our after-school club that is now called EPIC, Empowering People, Inspiring Change. And as a young person, I really struggled with finding my voice and just kind of grappling with depression and all of the fun things that we all go through as teens. And so when I found Empower Montana, it was just this really wonderful space where I could be myself and feel really valued and learn about different things that were impacting the community. And I finally felt like I could make a change instead of waiting till I used to think I'll be able to change the world when I'm a doctor someday, but there's nothing I can do now. So that was really empowering when I met Heidi, our executive director, 10 years ago, and I've been sticking with it ever since, and now I get to do it as my full-time job, which is pretty amazing. So I'll let Piper introduce herself. Oh, I don't have to move. We have lapel mics.
Yeah, again, I'm Piper, and I got involved with Empower Montana in 7th grade as well, and I do a few of their after-school programs.
Yeah, and so, Piper, do you want to share a little bit about a couple of our youth programs that we run?
Empower Montana runs, I cannot speak right now, Missoula school leadership programs that make youth violence prevention and help prejudice. I cannot speak. And
You got it.
Yeah. And then they train high schoolers in a 3-day leadership camp over the summer and have a lot of after-school programs like EPIC and then
Yeah, perfect. And we'll get to hear more about each of those programs as the night progresses. So, what is Diversity Day? Diversity Day started, Spencer, you can hit the slide, on April 12th, 2010, Empower Montana's youth leaders launched the Diversity Day celebration in response to the rising controversy and LGBTQ discrimination surrounding the city's then proposed anti-discrimination ordinance. And so Mayor John Engen officially declared this day as Diversity Day in Missoula, and the event was credited for playing a key role in influencing the following day's landmark city council vote to extend the non-discrimination to protect Missoula's LGBTQ community. So every year we gather together and honor that day and the hard work of our youth who helped make that happen, and also celebrate all of our youth that are currently leading in our community to make Missoula an even more inclusive, awesome community. So, yeah. Because it's such a cool deal that this is an official city proclamation, we like to read that document every year. And so I have the honor of introducing our executive director, Heidi Wallace. Heidi, again, I have known her for 10 years now, and she always models leading with kindness and knowledge, and is just, if you know her or if you don't, she just exudes this really calm, kind, thoughtful energy. And so she's going to come and read our proclamation.
Thank you all for being here tonight. And I'm usually pretty loud, so I was purposely standing away. It is my pleasure to welcome you here. And I remember very clearly when Missoula was making the efforts to pass the first non-discrimination ordinance in the state of Montana, protecting our LGBTQ citizens. And I was running our after-school clubs at that time, and our youth middle schoolers were really concerned about the misinformation, the stereotypes, and the negativity that was surrounding that proposal. And not only did they decide to create Diversity Day purposely on the day that the City Council would be voting to pass this ordinance, they also wrote letters to the editor. They requested a meeting with the mayor to propose this proclamation. And always, when I'm surrounded by young people, they inspire me with their leadership, compassion, empathy, and drive to create change. So I am happy to read the proclamation to get this night started. So there's lots of whereases, which is proclamation language, and I'm going to keep those out. So many Missoula community members see prejudice and intolerance every day. And Missoula is one of the most diverse cities in Montana. And Missoula residents value diversity and equality, and we know our strength as a community is based on treating each other fairly, respectfully, and ensuring safe, empowering, and inclusive communities. And diversity strengthens Missoula, where it contributes to the thriving and colorful culture throughout our community. An appreciation of diversity among Missoula community members creates a climate of understanding and acceptance that places the people of our city in the forefront of efforts to ensure that everyone has the right to live in conditions of peace, dignity, mutual respect, regardless of perceived race, color, national origin, ancestry, religion, creed, sex, age, gender identity, marital or family status, physical or mental abilities, sexual orientation, gender expression, orientation. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Heidi. Be sure to stop by Empower Montana's photo booth. You can buy our limited printwear t-shirts. Yeah. Let's get this show started. First, we'd like to welcome our elementary EPIC students and leaders.
That would be Kayla and Chuck. And if we have any 4th and 5th grade elementary students here, come on up.
Hi, I'm not going to worry about that. Hi, my name's Kayla, and I am an AmeriCorps leader with Empower Montana / Big Sky High School. And I have the great pleasure of leading our elementary school EPIC at Lowell and at Hawthorne. And we have one of our lovely Lowell elementary school students, and Chuck, so I'll let them introduce themselves.
go, buddy? You want me to go? Tell me your name.
Hi, I'm Alfredo.
What school do you go to, Alfredo?
Lowell Elementary.
Hi, my name is Chuck, and I'm a student at the university right now, getting ready to graduate in the social work field. And before you graduate, you're required to do a practicum or internship with an organization. So I'm doing it with Empowerment. When I looked for an organization, I wanted an organization. I knew I wanted to work with kids because I just love working with children. I've coached many sports. I also wanted to look at something that focused on bullying. I have a son with special needs who's been bullied most of his life. He's getting ready to graduate high school now. But seeing that process in the school, and I just wanted, and when I interviewed with Heidi and Claire, and they talked about how they wanted to stand up, that everyone has the right to do what they want, make their own choices, it rang a bell with me. So when they offered me with the position, I was extremely happy. I'm happy every day working at Epic at the schools. I see one of my biggest pleasures just happened a couple weeks ago at Lowell. The boys normally play basketball, and I go out and I work with the boys of basketball at break time, and a couple girls are watching them. And I said, well, why don't you guys come in and play? No, and the boys said, oh, they can't play. They can't play. I said, oh, yeah, they probably can. So the next week I went out there, and a couple of the girls, young girls, got the basketball before the boys, and they came over there, and I was teaching them a few games, where to aim on the backboard and everything, and then it was a game called Around the World. If any of you guys know how it's played, you go around. So just not last week, but the week before, the one girl had the basketball, and this gentleman came that's pretty good at basketball, a fifth grader at Lowell, one of the boys. I said, why don't you guys play a game Around the World? She's a girl. I said, well, why don't you play? You start this side, you start this side, and see who wins. And so the girl ended up beating the boy by one shot, and she was just ecstatic, and told everyone in the group that I beat this boy. So it felt good. She said, I want to thank Chuck for helping me, teach me how to play basketball. That made me feel really good. But I just wanted her to learn, and like I told the girls, you guys can do whatever you want. Don't let someone say you can't do something. You put in the work, and you can achieve anything you want. So that's all I want to say.
Yep. So we came up with this idea, which was inspired by Kid President, to film our elementary school students talking about leadership. And do you have anything to add, Alfie?
Nope.
Nope. Excellent. Then we'll kick it off. Sophie, you have to sit down.
The reason why I joined Epic is because it is Epic, and I get to play with friends after school. I'm at Epic because I thought it was really cool the last time I got to go, because it's called, do a bunch of fun activities, like making slime and doing gymnastics. Can I do a
Yes, please. Perfect.
And there's a lot of fun things that we do in Epic, and there's a lot of cool teachers. Very fun, and sometimes you get to ask the teachers if you want to do something, and they will let you do it. I'm a leader because whenever my classmates get in a fight, I always try to stop them, and try and give them ways they can settle it. I guess I'm funny at times, and I help them kids sometimes. I help people when they fall down. I get my work done and stay on task at times. Help our PE teacher, Ms. Houlihan, by telling littler kids that, with the jump ropes, not to tug on them because we'll get them taken away. First graders that need help with their reading words and if they're proficient in them, we make them have harder words and make them a better reader.
Help out with this really cool after school program. It's called EPIC. I help facilitate that, where I get to build relationships with a lot of cool kids from Lowell Elementary. I also get to lead groups with my job like BU Crew and Youth Forward.
What makes me a good leader is helping others. That I help others when they're feeling sad. If they fall, I help them. But if someone's needing a bully, but I still help them when they're hurt. Take responsibilities for your own actions. You don't like to blame it on other people. To me, the qualities they have is kindness and helpfulness, and they just get along well. If they see someone being mean, they stand up for themselves and tell them to stop. Strong, respectful, helpful, adventurous. They're not irresponsible. They do the right thing. Because I know all sorts of people that are leaders. Some of them are a little more bossy than others, but still, leaders are making this sometimes. Funny, nice, and calm, and awesome. Respect, kindness, and not trying to boss people around. Oh, you do that and you do that. And I think anybody could be a leader if they just put their mind to it.
My favorite leader, they probably aren't officially considered a leader, but I think she's a leader, is Ellen DeGeneres.
My parents, because they teach me a lot and they're responsible.
My parents, my stepbrothers, my brothers, and my sisters.
Everyone can be a leader and everybody can always do their thing, and no matter what they do, they can still be a leader.
Because sometimes kids can be better leaders than adults sometimes. Because sometimes adults just think it's all about bossing people around and that stuff, and it's not. It's just about helping people out.
Anybody can be a leader, not just adults, because kids can be leaders too. Jules, get in there! Come on! Pass! Scoot the camera back to the car. Sorry. I didn't really plan this out, but anyway.
I really care about listening to everyone's point of view. And
No!
Our act responsible class.
They are, not distracted. Okay, good job. Ready, set, bye.
my gosh, I've only seen that one other time. It's so sweet. Awesome. Thank you so much, our elementary epic leaders. The next presentation we have for you is from our 6th through 8th grade epics. So EPIC again stands for Empowering People, Inspiring Change. And it's at Lowell and Hawthorne Elementary, who were in this video. And then we also have it at our 3 MCPS middle schools, so Washington, Meadow Hill, and C.S. Porter. And to introduce the project, I will call up Summer and Kenzie, our EPIC facilitators, as well as any 6th through 8th grade EPIC peeps that are here in the house tonight. Come on up to the front.
Sure. Oh, it's tight. Is all open? Yeah. All right. So I'm Summer. I'm one of 3 practicum students at Empower. I learned about Empower through a presentation they did at my Social Work 200 class, and I just really liked what they did. And I've always loved working with kids, and I've really enjoyed this last year. I love EPIC and all the things that I learned from the kids. I think they teach me more than I teach them most of the time. And they've taught me that I'll never be a professional singer, so that's all right. But they're great. I love hanging out with them. So,
hello, I'm Kenzie Carter. I'm a student at the university. I learned about Empower Montana actually through a job fair, so it's not a super exciting story, but everything after the job fair has been fantastic. I think the best thing about EPIC and working with the middle schoolers and the elementary schoolers for me is just like seeing how like intelligent and aware and introspective these like humans are, who like we never give them enough credit for their ideas and their wisdom. And I think that EPIC through Empower Montana has just provided a really good platform for them to be heard, and I love to be a part of that. So, yeah.
you introduce yourselves?
I'm Liam, and I am from Washington Middle School, and the reason I got into EPIC is I just heard it was fun, and like the video said, it like all the projects are just really fun.
I don't need that. Yeah. I'm Piper, and I go to CS Porter. I got involved with EPIC because I was already a part of the Youth Advisory Council, and yeah.
I'm Lily, and I go to CS Porter, and I got in EPIC because it's fun.
I'm Whitney. I'm not a middle school student. I am a high schooler at Loyola, and I work with the CS Porter EPIC kids. I got involved with EPIC and Empower Montana simply because I wanted a route to share my voice and find a way to make changes in the Missoula community. And I love working with the kids at EPIC because it's something I never had as a middle school student. And I love seeing how intelligent and how these kids are more aware of what's going on in the world than sometimes people give them credit for. And well, they're fantastic kids, so. So this spring, our middle schoolers, these and many others, spent time exploring different stereotypes within their schools and their communities. And we've learned through this that stereotypes really affect our schools and our communities. And so they've done a pretty cool project that Kenzie can tell you a little bit about.
Yeah, so this year's community action project is a poster campaign called Break the Box. So each of us in EPIC, not myself, the middle schoolers, it's all of them, have chosen a stereotype that upsets them and made a poster to challenge it. All posters follow the prompt, "We don't believe blank because we know blank."
So from all of our middle schoolers through the 3 schools, there's 26 total posters, and they're all on display tonight out there. and then they'll all also be displayed throughout their schools. We're so proud of our EPIC and all of the things that they've came up with, all the challenges they're going, like, breaking here. We're so proud of them. So this is their awesome campaign.
Yeah, so they'll just be showing up on the screen for y'all to enjoy. You can tell them about their creations.
Do you want to tell which one? Do you remember which one? No? Do you want to talk about either ones you made? No? Okay. All right.
Mine was about, it's not that, the last one, but it has a similar concept about how immigrants who don't learn English quickly are lazy and stupid.
Point it out to us then. And these are all like hard copies, so if you miss a slide, you can still see it later.
That one's mine.
Yeah.
I'll add that those last two were made by the same wonderful, sassy EPIC student. Thank you all for sharing that wonderful project. It's been one of my favorite projects of EPIC so far, and I've been around for 3 years of them. So, next we are going to introduce our Youth Forward and BU crew leaders and participants. And so they have also worked hard on a project that is another film project, and we'll share. Hello, welcome up.
How's it going?
You're good. So, yeah, if I can get all BU crew and Youth Forward members who are here tonight who are wanting and willing to come introduce yourselves, and I'll pass it off to Spencer too. Oh my goodness, Edison, you're here, yay!
All right, hi everyone. My name is Spencer Check. I'm the Youth Programs Specialist at Empower Montana, and Claire and I help facilitate 2 awesome programs, Youth Forward and BU Crew. As a person who grew up queer in Montana, I know how important it is to have support and to know that your identity is validated. So the first time I saw Empower Montana was also in a presentation during one of my social work classes, and their mission really spoke to me, and eventually I applied for a job and things fell into place, and now I'm a paid staff member and I get to help facilitate these awesome programs supporting queer youth in Montana.
I'm just gonna like hold it. Go for it. That's good. Hi, my name is Julia, and I'm a trans woman and I got involved with Empower Montana through high school, and like just growing up as a queer female, like it just like Empower Montana really helped me like find my identity.
Hi, I'm Hank. I found out about Youth Forward through my one friend Jesse, and he's really cool. And he basically told me about it, and he's like, it helps people figure their gender out and stuff, like they'll support you through that. And I just started transitioning at the beginning of freshman year, and my parents were so confused. They were like, what do we call you now? And so we went to them, and I haven't been there very much because I live all the way in Potomac, which is really far away. But it has helped a lot to just put my dysphoria and my gender into words. So yeah.
Hi, I'm Samara. I found out about Youth Forward from my mom because she wanted me to be around other LGBT people, and it really just helped me get more comfortable with my identity. So, yeah.
Okay, I'm completely not prepared for this. I showed up and I realized they were calling people from VU Crew and Youth Forward to come up to the stage. And I was like, okay, I'm part of that, but I'm also like, what do I say? Because I feel like other people already had this planned out. So I mean, I heard from VU Crew from my mom. She just told me about it probably like 5 times or so. And so finally I was like, yeah, I think I'll go. And it's so awesome just being able to express like any feelings that you have like in words, because that's like the biggest thing for somebody at such a young age. So it's nice just being around other people who are somewhat like me. So.
All right, so tonight we are going to premiere a film project that our Youth Forward participants helped make. This film project was inspired by a film project called Dear 40-Year-Old Me that the Illinois Safe Schools Alliance worked hard on to show their support of LGBTQ youth as well. So we spent multiple weeks just thinking about what we wanted to say in these videos and brainstorming ideas, and this is what the final product is.
Dear future self.
Dear 30-year-old me.
Dear future self.
Dear future self. Dear 4-year-old me.
Dear future me, never stop blooming, assuming you haven't wilted, stagnant blood, clots fastened till trachea tilts blue, as my iron caught and my throat flew. Still hot to the touch, find what makes you fuel your fires, find what makes you want to survive.
I hope you know that you are loved. That you are loved and that you are safe. I hope you are happy for no reason. I hope that you have sorted out your tangled, untamable soul, and if you haven't, that you are content with it. I hope you are making a difference, and that you are proud of yourself.
I hope you've lived outside of Montana. I hope you not only have a job that you love, but one that will make a difference in the world. Do you remember when you were convinced that you would never come out? that you'd lie to yourself and everyone around you, because that would be easier than just being authentic and being alienated or worse. I hope that now that idea is so foreign to you that you don't even recognize that boy who was afraid.
You are hella old. Glad you made it that far. I hope that you've gotten that new concept artist job. Do you remember high school? It was terrifying. I'm sure you've forgotten all those times you've been misgendered and have gotten weird looks. Back then you had a hard time believing you could make it past 20.
I'm glad you're hearing this. There was a while there where I wasn't sure you'd be alive. There was a while where I didn't want you, but you are, and I'm proud of you.
Life is kind of boring right now, which is a welcome change compared to the past 4 years of depression, chaos, heartbreak, etc. Maybe you needed some self-destruction to make room for reconstruction.
Remember when you first came out to your mom and stepdad? They gave you all of their love and support. I guess the journey began when you found out about the LGBTQ community when Obama legalized gay marriage in 2012. And you learned that most important thing was to be you. Don't let anyone tell you what to do with your body. I hope that by now you'll be married to someone that loves you. And I hope that you've done things that changes people.
I hope that you have been to many corners of the world. I hope you are confident and content with who you are. Thank you for everything you've done for me. Thank you for all you have endured. You are worth it. You are special. You are human.
I'm glad you made it through this. I know it wasn't easy. I know it's probably still not easy. There are a lot of people who hated you for who you were, probably still do. I'm glad you're alive now.
You are amazing, and I hope you can tell yourself that now.
Love is your greatest strength. And I hope you're still living up to your name of Mama Claire Bear. Wherever you are, I hope you're finding peace and connection. You are a warrior of the heart. I love you. I'm proud of you.
You are strong, selfless, kind, and loved. I'm proud of you.
I'm proud of you.
I'm proud of you.
I'm proud of you.
And I'm proud of you.
I'm proud of you.
All right. I love our Youth Forward and BU crew friends so much. I can't even express words. I love you. Thank you. So we have just a couple of little thank yous and announcements, and then we'll get to have a little move around break before the next half of our evening. But first, Piper, do you want to come up and let me get us to the right spot in our script.
Sponsors, thank you. We could not put on this event without the generosity of our sponsors. Be sure to support these businesses and organizations because they support diversity, youth leadership, and community. Thank you so much to the Missoula Art Museum for helping us host Diversity Day in this beautiful space. And thank you to the UM Native Center for Excellence, Berkshire Halfway Homes for Gillespie Foundation, Home Resource Council, Blackfoot Communication, Clark Fork Storage, Good Food Store, First Security Bank, YMCA, Zoo City Apparel, Alternative Missoula, which is a radio station, Coca-Cola, and Cafe Dolce. And we'd also like to thank MCAT and Scott Ram for supporting us every year and helping us edit these films tonight. Let's give a round of applause and thank all these awesome sponsors.
So we have some exciting news because today at Diversity Day, we are launching our Spring Rainbow campaign. So we have two goals for this spring campaign. One is to let Missoula and Montana know that we offer diverse programs to support creating more just and inclusive communities, and to raise our goal of $6,000 to support those programs. So we'll be using the colors of the Rainbow Pride flag to tell the story of 8 of our programs. So for this first week, starting tonight, we will be celebrating our newest program, which Edison talked a little bit about. It's our BU crew, and the color representing this week will be purple. So the BU crew is a weekly educational support group for youth ages 4th grade through 7th grade who are either questioning their gender and sexuality, wanting to learn more, wanting to be allies, or already identify as LGBTQ. And so we like to create a safe space for these young people to gather and gain confidence in their identities, and for non-identifying allies to learn how to support their peers. And it's just been a really wonderful experience. We've also gotten to have some of our Youth Forward students help facilitate the program. So Samara, who's up here, and Jessie, who is in the video. So there are a few things that you can do to help make the Spring Rainbow campaign a success. You can make a donation right now, tonight. You can either go to the table where we're selling hats and t-shirts and make a donation there, or visit our empowermt.org/rainbow campaign website, and you can follow the link there. So right now, the next $500 in donations are being matched by the good people at Warden Thane Law Firm. Thank you to them. So we hope that you can help us earn that match by making a donation. You can also sign up to be an Empower Montana champion during the campaign. So you can find out more about that at our t-shirt table and be a part of sharing the word about our great organization. So you can also spread the word through your social media. You can follow us on Facebook, and you can find us on Instagram, Twitter, and share everything that we post the next 8 weeks with your friends. We're gonna come up with some really cool content, so be excited.
So excited.
Yeah, woo, social media. So thank you so much for supporting Empower Montana and our diverse community, and our work to help continue to create more just and inclusive communities all across the state. So we're going to take a brief intermission for about 10 minutes and let you all walk around, enjoy the space, check out the t-shirts, and there's a photo booth going on. And also you can look more at EPIC's awesome Break the Box poster campaign and get to know your community members a little better. So we'll call you back at about 7:10. Thanks. So I'm just gonna call people back slowly. We'll start up here in a minute. Just a couple housekeeping things since we are in this beautiful space, in this beautiful art gallery. I've been reminded to remind you all not to lean against the walls or touch the art. There are still seats available and stools that we can pull out. We can always bring out more chairs. Yeah, so thank you so much. We really are excited to be in this beautiful space. So welcome back for part 2. We're super excited for this next portion of our night. we are going to be presenting a reading called Remember Me. And so in order to get to that, I'm going to welcome up one of our most dedicated leaders, Whitney Hansberry, who was up here earlier. She's about to finish her senior year at Loyola Sacred Heart High School. She started volunteering with us in EPIC and then came to our high school summer camp where she got the training to now lead all of our workshops when we go into schools around Montana. So she is here to introduce the next portion of the night.
Cool. So do I get to take your spot first? Hi. Hello. Okay, there we go. Hi guys. Okay, so as Claire said, my name is Whitney Hansberry, and again, like she said, last year I got involved with volunteering with EPIC at Empower Montana, and then this last summer I got the opportunity to go to camp, and I just loved it, and I told Claire and Heidi, oh, I want to do more, I want to get involved more, is there anything more I can do? So this year I've been really involved with the EPIC program again, leading workshops at the high schools and the middle schools, and I even got to lead a workshop at my own high school, Loyola Sacred Heart, as their first ever workshop, which was pretty nerve-wracking because it was in front of all my classmates, but it was awesome and it was a great opportunity. So raise your hand in order to introduce this Remember Me reading. Raise your hand if you've ever been told, just wait till you're older, it gets harder or worse. I'm pretty sure everyone in this room. Yeah. And now about a hand for those who've ever said that to someone. Saw my dad's hand shoot up in the back. Yeah. Tonight is all about honoring and celebrating youth leadership in the face of hardship. Everyone was young once, and yet most of us grow up and begin to invalidate the hardships of those who are now younger.
It's important for us all to remember what our experiences were as young people so that we can celebrate and empower our youth today. Tonight we've asked community members to reconnect to their younger selves so that they can share and reflect on their experiences with us tonight. And to start off, we've asked Whitney to share a poem that she has written entitled Insecure Vanity.
So this is a poem I wrote last year for English, and it was kind of reflecting on the self-confidence issues and the self-esteem issues I had as a middle schooler and as a younger kid. So here it goes. I show an appearance one you cannot escape. In the dark hours of the morning, rubbing your eyes, stretching skin, examining pores, fondling unkept hair, you count the obscurities. I sit right by your door, reflecting all within your bedroom. You cannot escape me, the first image you see. You fix these imperfections by covering them. They must be covered in order for you to function. It's the only way you operate and smile. Whatever the form, a glaring blemish, a hair gone astray, you must correct them. Others won't see you, they'll see flaws. So you will cover them and give the most blinding smile. A smile I reflect, but one you don't. So there we go. Thank you. Okay, so now we'd like to introduce our first reader of the night, which is Eden Atwood. The work that has Eden's heart is music, motherhood, social work, and dogs. People would describe her younger self as a camp kid who was weird and maybe going places. So give a round of applause for Eden Atwood.
They asked for a picture from high school, which I declined. But those of you who remember what a bi-level haircut is, I had that. So I'm very happy to be here today and I cried only out of one eye, but all the makeup off of one eye, watching the films and seeing people talk and seeing this great collection of people coming together. I get nervous when I'm asked to do things like this, even though I have a career where I've been in front of groups of people many, many times. But this is a different thing. This is talking about some of the stuff that was the most trying, the most isolating. And I'm happy to be in this room full of people who are coming together to support the work of this organization. I just wrote a check. I hope you'll do the same so that the match that is on the table can be met before the night's over. That would be great. So here it is. I had to write it so I wouldn't get tongue-tied. In 1942, I was not yet born. Close. Author Zora Neale Hurston wrote in her autobiography, Dust Tracks on a Road, "There is no greater agony than bearing an untold story inside you." It was spring break 1984 when my mother and I traveled to the Mayo Clinic for more tests that I understood were to discover why I had not yet started my period. I was 15 years old. We stayed for 1 week, and on the second day I was told I would be having surgery to remove my ovaries. I was told that my ovaries were twisted and cancer-prone. I was told I would have to take hormone replacement for the rest of my life. I was told I would never bear children. I did not ask questions. I was devastated and afraid. My mother was stoic. 1 year later, when my relationship with my mother had become so strained and toxic, I bought a bus ticket to Mississippi where my father lived and ran away from home. That summer, my stepmother told me that my parents had lied to me. She told me that the surgery I had had was not to remove twisted cancer-prone ovaries, but instead, the doctors had removed internal testes from inside my body. She told me that the reason my parents had lied to me was because the doctors had told my parents that if I knew the truth, I might try to kill myself. I would later discover in stages that I had an intersex condition called androgen insensitivity syndrome, that instead of typical XX chromosomes that most girls had, I had XY chromosomes, typical for most boys. I was told my condition was extremely rare and that I would never meet another person like myself. Some of these pieces of information were true and some of them were not. I spent the next 13 years keeping the truth of my body a secret. I clearly understood that the reason I was lied to was because the truth of my body was considered shameful. There was no internet, no way to search for anyone like me. I lived a half-life. But eventually I did have access to the internet, and I did find others like me, and eventually the truth of my body was no longer something I had to hide. Though the habit of self-rejection was incredibly strong in me, I did learn to show up for myself and to stand solidly in my truth. I don't have to wonder about how my teenage self would have felt about the world today with respect to my treatment, because I see it in the confidence and self-acceptance and solidarity of the teens like me who now demand the right to self-determination and bodily autonomy. Every year I travel to a conference for androgen insensitivity and differences of sex development, and I bask in their glory and achievements. They lead us. I sit and talk with families of these extraordinary young people, and I tell my story and offer support and counsel. In all of these conversations, I'm reminded that being different is not so difficult. Being different in a world that does not embrace difference can be very difficult. And it is one thing to have those who do not yet understand refuse to accept you. But it's another thing entirely to have those closest to you refuse to accept you. When we are guided by love, free from fear, We can find others who are courageous enough to do the same, and together there isn't anything we can't do. Thank you.
I'm just gonna clip this here for those who are soft-spoken this evening. Maybe. Sorry. I got this. All right, I won't touch it anymore. Thank you so much, Eden. That was really beautiful. So, before I welcome up our next speaker, I just wanted to add a couple of things that I forgot to say to help our readers tonight. First of all, I'm sorry I didn't tell all of you what order you're going in, so it's gonna be a surprise. And our dear Spencer will give you a little show of fingers to show when you've spoken for 3 minutes, 4 minutes, 5 minutes. We won't cut you off ever, but it might help to just know how long you've been speaking. Yes, sir.
You're going to say how long or how much we have left?
Which would you prefer?
I don't know.
We get a group vote on this. We'll show how many minutes you've been speaking. Okay.
Perfect.
Great. That's my dad.
Out of control.
So, next I'd like to welcome up Christopher Marucci. Shoot, did I mispronounce it?
No, that was right.
Oh, I got it. I should know. We went to school together. The work that has Christopher's heart is being a local actor and dancer and helping provide creative programming for youth in Missoula. People would describe his younger self as pretty quiet and a little awkward, but he seems nice. Let's welcome up Christopher.
I did immediately fall for the trick of submitting a high school photo, so. But yeah, that's freshman year Christopher. Hid behind the hair a little bit. But I am so happy to be here. I'm just so in awe of all of these wonderfully well-spoken young people that we've seen, and I'm just so proud. Thank you for letting me be a part of this. No, just to let you guys know a little, I wrote a letter to my younger self, and when I was younger, I've been living with chronic pain since I was about 14, and I ended up dropping out of school because of that. And so this is a little love letter to myself that I'd like to share with you. Hey, Christopher. I know that there are a lot of things going on in your world right now. I know that there aren't many people that you feel understand you, what you're going through, or what's going on in your head. But if there's anybody that might have an idea, it would probably be me. And I know for a long time that you felt like you don't understand the people around you either. Their lives are all kept going, even when you felt frozen. But that's the thing. That wanting to understand those around you may just be the key to having those feelings of happiness that you see on TV but never really feel anymore. I know it seems impossible. Impossible to get out of that town, impossible to make friends, or impossible to be happy, but there are things that you can do. The little things. It doesn't matter how small they are. With the right mindset, these can be as impactful as the biggest battles that you've ever won. Happiness doesn't have to start with moving away to a new town and starting a new life, or opening your eyes and realizing that you're totally pain-free. Happiness can start with waking up in the morning. Happiness can be found in walking through the aisles of the grocery store once, maybe twice a day, just to get out there and see real live living people. Even if you don't have to talk to anybody, because that's the hardest part. Happiness can be going for that bike ride to the park. Happiness can be taking that dance class and building your confidence. Happiness can be spending time with your sister, or even just giving her a phone call every once in a while. Happiness can be found saying hello to strangers and learning their names. Happiness can be found in late night game nights, or meeting your dad for lunch on his lunch break at the same restaurant 4 days a week. Happiness might be registering for that GED so you can finally apply for college. Happiness doesn't mean taking all these steps at once, or even one a day every day. Just one whenever you feel that you can. Or maybe one when you feel like you absolutely can't. This kind of pain doesn't go away from waiting, and That's why it's important that you share things, Christopher. Tell your mom how you're feeling. She loves you even more than you do, even more than I really understand to this day. Do you see the way that she looks at you and how she believes that you still have a life ahead of you that's worth living? Do you think that you could ever look at yourself with that same lens of compassion and belief? This is a step that won't come quickly and certainly won't be easy, but Chris, it's important. Once you do, it'll be easier to start looking at other people with those same loving eyes. The eyes that I know you so desperately want to see looking back at you when you walk down the street. There are still plenty of scary, world-shaking things to come, but I know that you can do this, because right now, and for as long as I am able to, I love you, Christopher. I love you even when you were sick, even when you dropped out, even when you felt there wasn't a glimmer of hope left in your body. I love you, and that's a step that I know that someday you'll be ready to take too. Thank you, guys.
All right, so our next speaker is actually a teacher of mine. This is Rose Dixon. The work that has Rose's heart is teaching English at Loyola Sacred Heart, advising the yearbook and newspaper and literary magazine, which she is also very good at. People would describe her younger self as persistent, involved in school, and clumsy.
Now watch me knock this microphone over. All right, so one of the prompts for tonight was looking back at a journal and writing a reflection on a journal entry. So I spent some time looking back at my journals, and they're really boring for the most part. But I was inspired by this journal entry from the 5th grade in a Winnie the Pooh journal. And I wrote it in March 20th, 2003. Today is the first day of spring break. It is also the first day of the war on Iraq. George Bush said so last night. Today I buried some white stones. I will dig them up when the war is over. I was 12 years old. I was in the 5th grade. I remember distinctly the weight of the white rocks in the palm of my hand. I remember walking to the top of the hill in my parents' backyard, right behind the green shed near my rabbit hutch. I remember digging a hole with a small garden trowel, putting the rocks in the bottom. I remember covering them up with the dirt and feeling sad. I remember trying to send my thoughts across continents and oceans to faraway countries where bombs were falling. I remember being so sure that I would find them again that I did not draw a map. I was 12 years old. I was in the 5th grade. I could not understand the immensity of war. I could not fathom the terror people across the world were experiencing. Yet, when I picture myself walking out the back door, holding the white rocks tight in my fist, kneeling in the cold March air and digging a hole in ground that was just newly thawed, I think perhaps I understood better then than I do now. That was 15 years ago. The kids in my high school English class today were born in the early 2000s. They've never known a world that wasn't in a war against terror. The wars in Iraq and Afghanistan have been a constant for their entire lives. They've been a constant for over half of my lifetime. Today is the first day of the war in Iraq. Today I buried some white stones. I was 12. I felt helpless in the face of all the injustice and terror in the world. I was sad. I was angry. This was my resistance. I was 12, but I knew that you could not fight terror with violence. So instead of throwing stones, I buried them. I was 12, and I knew the power of my own voice. My 5th grade classmates and I sat at the big white cafeteria tables and discussed politics. I was an activist. I went to my first school board meeting that year with a letter in hand, and I knew the power of my own voice. But I also knew that the world had changed. I knew that sometimes you have to take a minute to mourn that change, to sit in the silence of your own backyard, to feel the early March grass greening under your hands. That was 15 years ago. The war in Iraq and continued intervention in the Middle East has become a constant backdrop, some days not even worth a mention on the evening news. Now, when I talk about how 9/11 changed the course of literature in this country, I am talking to students who only know the after, none of the before. I am talking to students who've grown up with the word terror looming.
with red alerts and active shooter drills. My hope is that students today will learn that they have a voice that matters, stories that the world needs told. My hope is that they will read stories from people different than them, that they will learn empathy. My hope is to help them make their voices heard, to teach them to write and to teach them to listen, to know the power of a story and of sharing those stories. My hope is that the world will become smaller, gentler, and more understanding through those stories and through the voices of young people. I had quite a few journals as a kid. I wrote entries of things I did, animals I'd seen, runs I skied, books I read. I rarely wrote about my feelings or editorialized. I didn't know about metaphor or simile, about pinning down imagery, moments with imagery. In fact, most of my writing reads more like a list than anything else. Factual, logical, just the important happenings. My entry from 2003 reads that way too, yet it stands out from the rest by the symbolism of my actions. Today, I buried some white stones. I will dig them up when the war is over. I put them in the ground because I was sad, I was angry, I wanted to believe in peace, so I took a handful of white rocks, covered them with dirt, and clung to the hope that I would be able to find them again soon. I have not been able to uncover them. It has been 15 years. The war is still not over. I do not know exactly where they are anymore. I'm quite certain that if the war ended tomorrow, I still couldn't find them. Yet I know they are there. They have stayed in their place underground waiting. They represent my 12-year-old sense of hope, my rebellion against the status quo, my desperate desire for peace. They have not disappeared. They will remain. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Dixon. That was very, very good. Okay, so the next person that's up is Jeff Brandt. The work that has Jeff's heart is being an adjunct professor at the University of Montana, where he teaches the history of rock and roll. He also used to love teaching percussion here in town. People would describe his younger self as a nice kid, fairly popular, good at music, fun to be around, and sometimes maybe a bit too serious and stressed out. So please welcome Jeff Brandt.
Thanks for having me here. Thanks to Claire, and I think this organization is great. I'm honored to help out. I wrote a letter to my teenage self, and I am blessed with an amazing memory, or cursed with an amazing memory, I think it might be. And so it's easy for me to remember these events, so allow me. Dear teenage Jeff, looking back overall, you were a pretty good kid. You were born and raised in a beautiful place, Sitka, Alaska. Your parents loved you and took care of you. You've had some talent in a few areas, and you even got along with most people most of the time. Still, you had your rough spots in middle school. And if 46-year-old self that is standing up here reading this to these people could go back and give 12, 13, and 14-year-old Jeff advice in a few areas, here's what I'd have to say. Remember when you were all stressed out all of the time about your math homework? Like you'd come home after basketball practice and be all out of sorts. Your mom would say, "Hi, is something wrong?" "Well, I'm really stressed out, Mom." "Why?" "Duh, because I have algebra homework just like I do almost every night. And also I have to write this one-page essay for English that is due in a week. And also I'm mad at Birch again because he made a joke about me today. Do you want to talk about it?" "No." "Wow, seriously? Chill, dude. Like you had algebra homework. Oh no, what could be worse?" "And your one-page essay. Due in a week. The horror of it all. Sure, there were starving kids in Ethiopia then, but cereal. At least they didn't have to worry about algebra homework and a really tough basketball practice that you just had with your friends." Here's another one. Remember when you were sitting in science class in 7th grade and Lee Ball was talking to you? And you could tell that she liked you and you were like, "No, no, no, I can never go out with Lee because even though she's really cute and all and obviously likes me, she's also from Texas, the second biggest state. And although she doesn't really have an accent that is too noticeable, her brother definitely does. And that's a really good reason to not be with her. Also, she has freckles. And are those okay in my middle school world? I don't know, I just don't. I think it is much more logical that I try to ask out girls that are 2 or 3 or even 4 years older than me, like that are completely out of my league, like Wendy Sharp or Sabina Vaught. Yeah, that makes sense. They probably love to date you because, you know, you're this really mature 7th grader, and it'd be all normal for them to drive down in their car from the high school and pick you up, right? Oh yeah, and back to Lee Ball. Did you notice that her last name is Ball? You most certainly couldn't go to a middle school dance with a girl whose last name is Ball. That'd be way too weird. I mean, isn't there something she could do to control that? Speaking of last names, here's another one of your bright ideas in middle school that, looking back, is humbling to remember. Remember when you were sitting at the dinner table with your parents who took care of you and loved you? And remember when you told your dad this? Dad, I don't like my last name. Brandt is not a good last name. When I grow up, I'm going to change my last name to Van Halen. Like the hard rock band. Yeah, that'd be cool. Jeffrey Van Halen. Yeah, great idea, young sir. No one would ever ask you, are you related to the famous rock band Van Halen? Me? No, my last name was Brandt, but I just thought it'd be cool to pay a government fee to change my name to Van Halen. That's all. Going back to how stressed out you were, how about this one? Remember when you showed up at school one day in the fall in 6th grade and forgotten to write your 1-page book report for English class? Remember how much you panicked and asked your dad, who was a teacher at your school, what should you do about it? And he said, well, can you write it sometime during the school day? But remember how you thought surely that Mr. Packer, your English teacher, would be so ashamed of you because you forgot to write a book report? Like, what did you think was going to happen to you? Did you think he was going to cut off one of your fingers in front of the class? And now, here we have Jeff Brandt, the A student most of the time, who forgot to bring in his 1-page book report assigned on Wednesday and due on Friday. Ha ha! Chop! As it turned out, you forgot that, but you found time between 4th period art class and lunch to get it done, and it turned out okay at the end of the day. And everything was all right after all. I mean, it wasn't like a 4-alarm fire. You just read a book that you could use anyhow. You had paper, a pencil to write a rough draft, a pen for the final draft, and plenty of time to get it done. Do you think that that was worth all the stress looking back? Here's one that everyone needs to hear, because even people like you that were nice most of the time can still be mean for no good reason at all. Jeff, you were pretty well liked, fairly popular, though not the king of the hill. But you certainly did have days when you would pick on other people because you, just like everyone else in middle school, had your fair share of insecurities. Remember when you picked on Eric Thornton in 8th grade science class? Remember when he would fall asleep on his desk and you would play tricks on him just to get attention from other people, or just because you thought it was funny? Remember that? That was mean. Remember how you used to talk behind his back sometimes and you and your friends would say how he didn't change his clothes often enough, or how he always wore the same pair of jeans and the same white t-shirt to school nearly every day? Remember that? And remember when you finally grew up and figured out that you had no reason in the whole wide world to be mean to him at all, and felt awful for the way you treated him, and realized that it was time to reach out and apologize? And remember when he came to the 20-year class reunion and he remembered all of those things because he has your same memory? All the things that you had done to him, and he didn't hold them against you, even though he most certainly could have? And then remember when you asked him about why he always fell asleep in 8th grade science class, and he said flatly, well, my dad sometimes had to work night shift at the police department, and my mom was epileptic. My 2 older brothers were gone. One was in prison. The other one was just gone. My dad would ask me to stay up at night with her because if she had a seizure in the middle of the night, she honestly could have died. And then what would I do without a mother? Remember after he said that to you, how you felt terrible, and you realized all at once that even though you were generally a nice person, that some of your actions could be so hurtful to another person, and that it would bring even you to tears right there at your 20-year reunion picnic as a 38-year-old man? And again, remember how when you apologized to him for all of the things that you had done, that he forgave you, and you still felt awful? Because how could he forgive you for all of that after all he'd been through, and you had been through literally nothing? All in all, I think if my 46-year-old self could go back and give 12, 13, 14-year-old Jeff advice, it would be something like this. 1, Chill the bleep out, dude. Homework won't kill you. And even if you forgot to turn in a book report or something like that, it'll probably still be okay. I definitely know that I now could have skipped that one item and I'd still be alive because I turned in everything else on time. Number 2, go to the dance with Lee Ball, because who cares about her last name or freckles, or that she's from Texas, or that her brother has a southern accent? She's a nice person and nice people matter a lot. Number 3, don't tease people. Well, I take that back. Maybe still tease your sisters because they most certainly deserve it. But seriously, don't tease Eric Thornton or anyone like that, because you really don't know a person and what their life is truly like. While you might actually be able to judge some books by their cover, you most certainly cannot judge a person by the fact that they are asleep in science class, or that they don't run the 100-meter dash as fast as you, or that the clothes they choose aren't fresh from the dryer. I mean, look at the pants that you are wearing right now. Just look at them. They were on the floor next to your bed for 3 days before you put them on again. You haven't washed them in over 2 weeks, and nobody is making a big deal out of it. Be a nice person. That is the one thing that really matters in the end.
Thank you so much, Jeff. That was very, very good. Okay, so next we have Haley Michelson. The work that has Haley's heart is teaching people to be kind to themselves. People would describe her younger self as a party all by herself. Hello, everyone. Oh, can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Thank you, Edison. Always looking out for me. I'm thankful to be here. I am the complete opposite of everybody else in the sense that I did not write anything down because having things written down makes me more stressed out. But I'm really excited to be here and talk about my experiences growing up. I hated my body for probably 15 years. And today I can say that I'm a fat person who's not trying to be unfat. Isn't that weird? What a concept. Growing up, I remember the first time when I was in 3rd grade when somebody called me fat and how I thought that was the worst thing that anybody could say to me. And I remember from then on, my biggest focus was losing weight, counting calories from 3rd grade until probably being 23 years old. And I remember just feeling like I just so badly wanted to fit in and just blend and not want to be different. I was the only fat person in my family, the only fat one of my friends, and that was really hard for me because, like the awesome students who are here today talking about how they had a language to talk about who they are, I didn't have that, and I didn't have community around me in terms of people who looked like me. I constantly thought there was something wrong with me. I constantly believed that, you know, if you're thin and you can have a boyfriend, you can be happy, you can be successful. And I can say now that I don't have a boyfriend, so look out, you guys. No. But I have a job that I love. I have friends that I love and who love me. I have a family who has been willing to open their minds and their ears and listen to me and learn about my experience growing up. And I believe that when I say teaching people to be kind to themselves, this is a hard topic for me because I had so much shame around growing up and the way I looked that even trying to think about what to talk about, my memory is not good because I didn't want to remember. And so just really trying to teach people to be kind to themselves and that your morality is not judged by your ability to run a marathon or what your medical charts look like. And
I'm just so impressed by all of the students here, and I hope that people can have the same experience I had of really being an activist for myself at the age of 23, not at the age of 11 like my sister Claire probably. She was a badass. But being able to, even if you don't feel it right now, even if you can't be who you want to be now, you can always stay close to yourself and get there, whether you're 20 years old, whether you're 50 years old. The process of learning about yourself and loving yourself is an ongoing experience, and I'm very thankful to be here, and you all are awesome. And Edison, I was just like you, I didn't know what I was going to say, but I'm glad you went first. So thank you for having me, and keep on being kind to yourself, and try and be the superhero that you needed when you were younger and you didn't have that. So thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for sharing, Haley. That is definitely advice that I could have used when I was in middle school, and the advice that I have now. So the next speaker, I hope I pronounced this right, is Jayton Simpson. The work that is Jayton's heart is facilitating community discussions regarding topics that we can impact today. People would describe his younger self as applying his talents in the wrong areas of life.
All right, so thank you very much for giving me this opportunity. I have never done something like this before, writing something to my younger self. My younger self was obviously not a good person. Had talents, applied them in the wrong areas, and what I did was wrote a letter to myself of empowerment and encouraging myself to capitalize on the awareness that I did not know I had. So here we go. Try to keep it together. I am aware that today others may have more opportunities than I. I am aware that I have opportunities more than others. I'm aware that I can sleep tonight and not wake up. I'm aware that what I do today may be the last time I get to do it. I am aware that there will always be evil in our community. I am aware that I will always have an option to choose which path to walk. I am aware that when I am passionate about something, my voice elevates. I am aware that I am passionate about life. I have goals, and I can choose to pursue them daily. I am aware that life's experiences, good and bad, define us, define me. I am aware that the bad hurts, and I must process that individually. I am aware that in order to succeed, that does not mean that others cannot. I am aware that I have more control over the day more than I think. And I am aware that not all days will be amazing. I am aware of bad temptations, and I should work to resist those. And I'm aware of good temptations, and I should work to accept those. I am aware that being a minority in America comes with its own set of obstacles. And I'm aware that this is just part of my journey, and that I should not allow that to stop me from pursuing all that life has to offer. I am aware that we have corrected some wrongs in the past, and I'm aware that we currently have some wrongs that need correction now. I am aware of my surroundings so that I can protect myself. I am aware of surroundings so that I can help others. I am aware of my emotions so that I can communicate exactly what I intend to. And I'm aware that every interaction and every intention may not be received as it were intended. I am aware that communication is vital and that it's not always what you say, but how you say it. And I'm aware that I am not perfect. I am aware and thankful for those who have sacrificed before me so that I can have the opportunities that I have now. And I'm aware of the skills that I have and how I can use them to help others coming after me. I'm aware that being aware is a personal skill that you can develop throughout life, and it's never too early, and it's never too late. And I'm aware that it takes time and energy to be aware, but so does not being aware and the consequences that come from that. I'm aware that there will be interactions daily that demand my attention, and I'm aware that I control how I respond to each and every one of those interactions. I'm aware that the exposure of negativity will influence my outlook on life, and I'm aware that some negativity is unavoidable, and how you respond will define how you will respond to the following next negativity. I am aware that not everyone wants to be aware, and I'm aware that it is not my job to make them aware. I am aware that I did not develop all these skills on my own, and I'm aware that I can help others. I am aware that I need to be better so that we can be better. That's the letter that I would want myself to read out loud. It's that moment that you say to yourself in the mirror your own words of encouragement, empowerment. Because right now, I feel that I am more aware. But even as a teenager, I had the opportunity to be better and more aware. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much for sharing, Jayton. So next is Katie Koga. The work that has Katie's heart is amplifying underrepresented histories, stories, and voices. People would describe her younger self as a creative and emotional spirit, wrestling with integrity, truth, and justice.
I also could not find any photos of myself in high school, so I did the next best thing and took them from college, but it's okay, I look the same, so. Yeah, so okay, I'm gonna not touch that. I'm just gonna stand like close to it. I'm really glad that I've heard in a lot of other people's words, a lot of echoes of some things that I talked about, so that feels really good. I thankfully did not save any journals that I wrote as a young person. They were mostly like these sort of, me waxing poetics about like crushes I had and on and on and on. So, but as a young person, I really loved art, and I really loved to draw and color. And so my dad saved some drawings that I did, and he digitalized them, and I found one recently that I printed out, and so not all of you will be able to see it, but it's a drawing of me and this girl I was friends with in grade school named Sarah, and on the top of it, I titled the drawing Twins, and we are both wearing the same outfit, and we have the same hairstyle. However, there is a stark difference in our race. And so I feel like it was a good kind of illustration of a lot of my experience growing up. I basically feel like for most of my young adult life, I was having like a perpetual racial identity crisis. I live with my dad and my brother. lived in Rochester, Minnesota, and around the time when we lived there in the 90s and early 2000s, it wasn't super racially diverse. I mean, it was getting there, but we were pretty isolated, and so basically in my community there were like 3 different kinds of groups of people that looked like me, and so these were sort of like how I categorized them. There were the people who worked at the Chinese restaurant that we frequently went to, and I'll just backtrack by saying I'm Japanese Korean, I'm not Chinese, so that stereotype on one of the posters really reaches close to home for me. The second group were first-generation families, many of whom I went to school with, their children, who spoke English as a second language. And then there was sort of like a handful of Asian American classmates that I had who were like athletic and really smart and charismatic and really popular, and like I didn't identify with any of these things, any of these identities. And so basically, so I'm 32 now, and for the first 31 years of my life, I thought about this, I've never had a teacher, a counselor, a boss, or anyone in a leadership position close to me who looked like me. So based on my observations of my community and what I was seeing on TV at the time, these were basically my future career options. I could either be the owner of like a Chinese / teriyaki / American food restaurant. I could be a kung fu movie star, or I could become like a really smart mathematician or scientist. And none of those things were going to happen for me. I definitely knew all of that. So I did, however, as a younger person, I found solace in one sort of role model, whose name was Claudia, who was a Japanese American character in a book, and specifically a young adult fiction series called The Babysitter's Club. I don't know if anybody here remembers that series. And the thing about this character, Claudia, is that she really challenged all of the stereotypes of an Asian American, specifically young woman. She was like really messy and kind of like spunky and out there. She was a creative spirit. And she wasn't good at school. And so that was really important to me. However, I think the biggest criticism I have of this, or the problem with this, is that the only access I had to a role model was somebody who existed as a character in a fictional book. This wasn't a narrative that was represented to me in real life, or even in film and television. And we know that has expanded a little bit and changed. So all that's to say is that representation matters. People's stories matter. Getting to witness them in real life through media, in all sorts of other forms. And so having kind of reflected on that, and now that I have the hindsight of the experience, seeing social change progress, and really just time, I have a few points that I wrote down that I would like to say to my younger self that I think would resonate with a lot of other young people right now. So one point is that, you have to take into context the time, so one point is that the internet is terrible right now, and you don't know it yet, but it will eventually explode. And there will be more access than you could ever want to people, ideas, and communities that share the same experience as you and even look like you. Another point is to begin cultivating a relationship with yourself. Try to become your own best friend and advocate. It is the most necessary relationship you will ever have, and so much of what you will go through and how you come out of those experiences will depend on this relationship. Another point, you have every right to the entirety of your feelings and emotions, and do not believe those who say otherwise. You cannot live your truth in this world without getting kind of messy. Another point, do not be afraid to tell your story and your truth over and over and over, and listen to the truths of others. It is one of the only ways
that real leadership and change happens. And finally, it is very possible that your mere existence of being is a necessary action for someone else who needs to see you. Someone else who needs to see how a person can be uniquely themselves. Like, for example, someone who was maybe once a cheerleader, who went through a punk phase and then went to art school and later decided she would pursue nursing and now likes cats and sewing and playing women's hockey. It's like just an example. I don't know who that could be. Your being alive is representation, and you never know who is looking and watching and seeing part of themselves in your story. So, thanks.
Hi all. So we only have 2 more readers left, so just a little information for you guys. So next up is Warren Michelson. The work that has Warren's heart is being a dad and working on the Man Up Right project, supporting the group's growth of good boys and men. People would describe his younger self as that somber, poetic type.
All right, I hope this will stand here. When the first person was photo and their words were up there, I was like, nobody asked me to do that. I don't know what I would have said. Apparently I did. And I guess that was my daughter who sent me that email with those questions. So first of all, I'm just so grateful to be here and so in awe of the voices of young people, because how little voice I had as a young person. I was that somber, poetic type. I had more secrets than I knew what to do with. Let me see. Anyway, I'm just so inspired, and I learned so much from from my daughters and from other young people, and the world has changed so much since I was in 7th grade at Meadow Hill School, having just moved from Minneapolis, where there were already hippies, and where people wore shit like this that I wore at Sentinel High School. And my daughter said, "Please don't put that on." So the world is that different. The world is that, but I wore that, and I had this. I was the first person in my school with a pierced ear, and apparently it was the wrong ear, if you know. I did not. I don't know what my identity might have been if I were growing up now. Honestly, I have no way of knowing, because that wasn't even something. I knew some gay men as a small kid, but they scared me, and there was just no language for that, and no place to talk about that, and no place to explore that, or even, it just wasn't in my world. And that was 1971 when I moved here. Anyway, so I wrote something from not really from one of the prompts. I just wrote about my 7th grade year at Meadow Hill School. And then at about 4 o'clock, I looked at the prompts, and I'm like, that isn't one of the prompts. You didn't just write a poem about your 7th grade year. That wasn't there. So then I went out to my storage unit out on the way to East Missoula, and I'm like digging through. I knew there was a box of journals because I've written all my life. There are like 60 of these in this kind of clear tote. But anyway, started digging through that, and the early years were toward the bottom, and eventually I found this. So the main secrets in my life revolved around just a crazy amount of alcoholism in my family, just intergenerational alcoholism and the ravages of that. So anyway, my dad was a Peace Party activist. He worked for Gene McCarthy. He was his press secretary. A few of you might No, but that was in 1968 during the Vietnam War, and my dad was traveling around. We were living in D.C., and my dad never came home. Daddy absence is huge in my world, and that was also a secret. He didn't talk about anything like that. But anyway, I found this writing about my dad. He died when I was 19. He was a violent person. He was a beautiful person. He was an alcoholic. He grew up Jewish family, I think. You know, I don't know any of his story except Jewish, Russia, between the world wars. I don't know what. They were just the angriest people I'd ever met. My father was the angriest person I met until I met his dad. My father is up there in all those stars, I said, and what was risked? Anybody who's down on that counts not one shit in my book. My father puts on the glasses he wears only to read the news, sits on the can an hour reading the Times. Sundays we throw the football. He's always in a baggy sweater that scratches and his chin scratches. More often than football, he grumps and sits around nagging. Can't get excited about ice fishing. He tried to catch us a leatherback turtle on the lake road to Excelsior. What did he read? Miller and Tolstoy and George Plimpton. He tried to grow a beard. We asked him why his hair was longer. I don't think I have a picture of him. That worries me. Sorry, can't read my writing. He charters a boat to Iona, that's in Scotland, pays the piper with a bottle of gin, and he plays for us in the warm light of Scotland. He ran off with the boss's wife. Mom broke plates and wouldn't go along. Birds flew into the picture windows. We couldn't stop that. So we visited upstate New York, a house by a waterfall, big house. The boss's 5 daughters bring gin and scotch to the guest house. My father listened to our music and griped. Griped about Eric's hair and glasses, their likeness to him, I guess. Is my intention only sadness? Why else remember? I guess I try to salvage something happy. Street of Martyrs, Paris, the last time I saw him, he was wearing the pants I have on today. So what? Well, I needed to know him to be unlike his anger. We giggle when he fake gropes at a waitress, tonguing the air, mooing. What does he think of women? Judgments I make after my dad. He ran from us, from politics and kindness. Anybody who tried to care too much, which wasn't much, got left behind. How's my time? 4 minutes. I don't know. I don't really want to comment on my life. It's too messy, but I think I did that at the beginning anyway. So this I really do want to read. In 7th grade, my mom and stepdad moved out here, running from the law, honestly, and a lawsuit. Some awful car accidents where alcohol was involved and people were hurt. So my mom with this crazy guy, Vern, moved out here. I think we came home from that Scotland trip and the car was packed and my mom said, get in the car, and we were not pleasant to our parents. By then we had learned all their language. Fuck you, Mom, we're not going. But here we are. Not my dad. This I wrote recently, I'll read this quickly. We moved here in 7th grade. Ended up here, really. Vern had an uncle in Missoula. I went to Meadow Hill. Some smartass called me Sally. We were picking teams for flag football. PE teacher said nothing. Lots of snickering. I was from Minneapolis. I'd seen the Vikings play. I was gonna play pro ball. I'll show you. At lunch we play Smear the Queer. I outrun everyone. It's spring now. Like today, early but windy, I pedal my 3-speed from Linda Vista. Gritty little cyclones on the playground. Nobody. Mr. Donovan, he teaches science. He lets me in. I'm afraid he already knows. I'm glad he doesn't ask. I guess he brought me hot chocolate I don't remember. I wonder if he knows. First bell, all right, keep your head down. The intersection at where Walmart is now. He wasn't quite my dad. I wore Wranglers and a Western snap shirt to an 8th grade dance. Hillbilly from Roseau, Minnesota. He taught us about motors, driving, beer. Never give him more than 6 inches of your left front bumper. He must have forgot. I'm not your Sally. I'm not your white trash cowboy. Can I go home now?
Thank you so much for sharing, Warren. So next up on our last speaker is Natalie Yeager. The work that has Natalie's heart is being the principal of Big Sky High School. People would describe her younger self as outspoken and ambitious on the outside and a little lost on the inside. So please welcome Natalie.
Thanks. I'm really honored to be part of this group of adults who are sharing their experience, and also I'm so proud of our youth in Empower Montana. So I went to high school in Spokane. I actually picked a picture that I was late 18. My eyes are closed because everything that was 17, 16, 15, and 14 had this enormous hair. And this is when my hair fell. It was 1990. So I went to high school in Spokane, and I went to West Valley High School. And I realized that 30 years ago I was 16, and that seems like a really, really long time ago. When I was in high school, when I was a senior, I don't have anything that I wrote in high school, but I remember when I was a senior, they said, "What are you going to be when you grow up?" And I said, "I'm going to be the first female president of the United States," which I'm not. But that was a great ambition. I think when I was 18, I still could be. Not really. I don't want to be. No, thank you. I was really into extracurriculars. So I was really into DECA and student government and every sport I could be in. And I loved learning, and I was really naturally curious, but I didn't get great grades. If any, I don't think any of my students are left here, but I was a bright kid who got a lot of C+ and B-. But I did like to do real things. I planned the prom. I had a petition to change the color of our graduation gowns because I didn't look good in orange. It wasn't really that altruistic. It was just like, oh, nobody looks good in orange. And I always worked at school, so I was really busy. If I could go back into time and send myself a message, it would be something like this. Dear Natalie, you are such a passionate and talented and smart young woman. And when I wrote this earlier, I kind of cried. So if it happens, I apologize. I'm sorry that in spite of all of that, you felt so out of place in high school. I'm sorry you put on a happy face when you should have shared how lost you felt. I know it was hard to be the first in your family to finish high school and to go to college. I know you always felt the poverty and chaos in your background made you different and not as good as other people. Please know now that it made you strong and resilient and grateful. And what you viewed as your biggest deficits and secrets were really your superpowers. You know from personal experience that greatness comes in all different shapes and sizes, from all families and from all neighborhoods and all types of people. It will take you a long time to understand that. But you should be proud of who you are and where you come from, and your life path has made you both bold and humble. My most important advice is don't ever let anyone make you feel like you don't belong. When they try, because they will, whether it's because of your age or your gender, or because you come from the wrong side of town. Please remember this quote from Congresswoman Shirley Chisholm. If they don't give you a seat at the table, bring a folding chair. Thank you.
Wow, thank you all so much. This has just been so special. I know we went over our time that we said we would, and also I'm sorry that I didn't write on the posters that it was maybe going to be a tearjerker. I didn't realize myself. I should have figured. But thank you all so much for making Missoula and Montana such a wonderful place, and I just hope that we all continue to support each other through all that is our lives right now. Thank you.
I know everyone's itching to leave because I know I am, which I probably shouldn't be since it's my event, partly my event. But I just wanted to do a public shout out and highlight for Claire because this whole re-envision of Diversity Day was all her idea and all of her pushing, pretty much. And this wouldn't be possible without all of her crazy hard work. So.